Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Shows, Style, and Spirit. I am Ebony, and I want to talk about the latest season of the Braxtons, featuring Toni Braxton and her sisters, Tamar, Trina, Tawanda, and their mom, Miss Evelyn Braxton. And I want to talk about the storyline involving their niece, Ashley. And according to Tamar, the family stopped her from bringing the niece onto her podcast, and Toni Braxton does not like that at all. Now, before we get into this scene, I ask that you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. And of course, everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion, and the Copyright Act of 1976 says that my fair use commentary on these clips, they are allowed. Now, I would imagine WeTV would not want me to show the moving pictures of the scene, so I got the still shots for us to look at, and then I will play the audio, of course. And then we will check out their niece Ashley's TikTok, where she talks about something that happened when she was 16 years old, and how one of her aunts no longer speaks to her because the aunt thinks that she did something inappropriately with the aunt's then partner. But let's get into this scene involving the sisters in what looks like, a pretty restaurant. And here we go.
Hello. Well, hi. We have had a series of unfortunate events in the Braxton family lately.
What we were told is you didn't want to film with us.
Well, you already know why I want to film with y'all.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
My niece Ashley, who we love very much, posted her videos on social media with some accusations about her family. My family was a little surprised.
Well, there was a lot going on the internet.
Tamar announced that she would be interviewing our niece Ashley on Tamar's podcast. I didn't think it was a good idea.
I am getting Ashley here. You're not going to make me feel bad about that. I wanted her to come to a safe place to tell her story.
And all of this happened right before we started shooting season 2 of the Braxtons.
Next thing I know, y'all tried to shut down my entire
Don't
business.
say y'all.
Sending a cease and desist and shutting down my business. The cease and desist. I got a cease and desist before Ashley was on my podcast. I didn't even say anything. I was not involved in any way, shape, or form of sending a cease and desist letter. My name was nowhere on it. Nobody wanted to come to my defense.
So you're going to sit there and say, Toni Braxton?
Toni Braxton, I got
Toni Braxton. No. Toni Braxton ain't never had your back.
I got Toni Braxton.
I want to be, I want to know.
I want to be,
say, I don't have your back.
You did it.
Hell, with a heavyweight, don't put me, Tamar. Don't with Toni Braxton.
And then when Toni said we need to have her on the show, I told you we need to have Ashley on the show. I never say that. I never said that.
She's lying.
Swear my mother. Don't swear your mother. I said just show her the Chitlin circuit, and we shouldn't do it. You said have her on the Braxton show. You said that.
This is not the forum.
You said that.
Don't you go there.
Don't you me. The sisters.
Okay, so on that second slide, if you will, shout out to the Neighborhood Talk. This is where I've gotten both the visuals and the audio from. The Neighborhood Talk gossip blog on Instagram, they posted this story. And if you look in the lower left corner, you can tell where Tamar and Toni are both standing up out of their seats. That was after Toni started saying, "Are you saying that I did not have your back?" And she says, "Don't F with me, Tamar. Don't F with Toni Braxton." And then she stands up and Tamar stands up also. I do think that Toni Braxton was doing some grandstanding because she did not like the fact that Tamar was acknowledging on camera that they tried to block her interviewing their niece by sending her the cease and desist. I think that Toni is also doing her other two sisters a favor by arguing with Tamar as a distraction, because obviously it's one of them that the niece is talking about. Because to me, Trina and Tawanda, both, in my opinion, had like the no good exes. We know that Tawanda was once married to Andre, who is the father of her two kids. And it just always seemed like, did he have a job? Did he ever have like a legitimate W-2 job where he earned a paycheck every week or every other week? I'm not sure. And then we know Trina Braxton's first husband, Gabe, rest in peace to him. He passed away. And but he did acknowledge to cheating on her. So I was wondering if it was between the two of them. They are sitting there quiet as can be, quiet as they want to be. And so I'm convinced it is one of them that, this alleged story is involving, one of their exes. And then Toni, so that they don't have to get crunk and they don't want to tell their business, Toni is getting mad at Tamar because she tried to interview the girl and they blocked it. So I'm guessing that Toni did not like the TikTok videos that she made, and she did not like that Tamar tried to use her platform, her podcast, Under Construction, to let Ashley talk about it further. I'm also thinking that Toni wanted the niece on their show, the Braxtons, to give them a storyline. Now, the amazing YouTuber Kempire, he said in the comments on this neighborhood talk story that he's noticing a trend that with season 1 of the Braxtons, because we know after Tracy passed away, rest in peace to Tracy Braxton, they changed the show from Braxton Family Values to the Braxtons. And for season 1 of the Braxtons, their major storyline that carried the entire show was them being distant from Tracy Braxton's husband and them trying to bridge the gap with Tracy's son. And so now this season, it looks like the young lady, Ashley, is going to carry the show as well. Which sister, let me know in the comments, which sister do you think has the former partner that they think allegedly did something with their niece when she was 16 years old? Okay, so I also want to talk a minute about family secrets. Now, there were people in the comments, they had Tamar's back. They said, she is that black sheep. She is the one who acknowledges things that make the family uncomfortable, that make the family feels embarrassed. And so they want to sweep it under the rug. They don't want to talk about it, no matter how painful it is for the people involved or the person who is affected by it. It's kind of like, forget your pain, forget your trauma, because we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want anyone to know that possibly one of our exes was disgusting enough to hit on our 16-year-old niece. And it's not just because they are a famous family. We see this in church. If there's like a scandal involving an adult and a minor, they definitely want to keep it private because people care about how they look to people. They care about image. And then you see it within the family, regardless if they are a famous family or not. And I think that that's wrong. I think that keeping things a secret, pushing it to the bottom of the bag, it stunts the healing process. It stunts the growth. And all you've done is tell the victim that they should be ashamed about what has happened to them, something that they could not control, something that they did not want to happen to them, that they should feel ashamed and should keep it a secret. And then there's this thing, I'm going to say for the most part is generational. But again, if the family members, they want to, even if they're young, they could be young millennials or Gen Z. If they want to keep it a secret and they want to pretend like everything's perfect, they're not even going to want to see someone's truth on social media, on their Facebook page, their Instagram, their Twitter, their Snapchat. They don't want you talking about your feelings because they're worried that they're going to look bad to people. And I know that some people say, they just prefer to keep things off the internet. And that's your choice and your opinion, just like it could be someone's choice or opinion to express themselves on their individual personal social media. Sometimes you have to get it out. You have to get it out of your chest. You have to get it off your chest, out of your brain. You could journal. You could get it down on paper. That helps. Of course, talking to someone about it. Sometimes, though, what's great about social media is that you can express yourself without being interrupted. You could be judged, but you're not being interrupted, because you could tell your friends and they'll stop you and say, oh, but you're blessed and you have this and you have that, and there are people doing worse than you, and God is going to work it out. And before you can even finish your thought. And I know that they're just trying to be positive for you and be your cheerleader, but it hits differently when you can type out the words that's swirling in your head. And it's like you want the world to know without the interruptions. But social media can also be very dark. Now, one time I vented on Facebook. It's been 2-3 years. And my classmates, neighbors from the old neighborhood where I grew up, they had my back extensively in the comment section, in the DMs, and checking on me. It was actually a couple of nieces that sent me some very kind of nasty text messages in response to it. And it was because someone sent them the message. But in the message, I talked about coming from a large family and experiencing bullying, and it affecting, how I saw myself. And, I had thoughts. Of course, I can't use all of the words because YouTube won't allow it, but it put me in a very just sad space. And I said, now I feel like additional family members are starting that same path with me. And those same family members, they sent me text messages that weren't very nice. So they kind of proved my point. But it was the point that I'm bringing up to say is that I still don't have any regrets about talking about it on my personal Facebook, but it does help to kind of get things out. And I think that I was able to express myself without being interrupted and not getting a blow up, kind of like what Toni did to Tamar. But I do think that Toni blowing up with Tamar, she didn't appreciate on camera Tamar saying that the family stopped her from bringing the niece onto her podcast. And I think that also it was kind of like giving guilt, or perhaps she was trying to intimidate Tamar. What do you think why Toni got so mad and said, don't F with Toni Braxton? She even spoke about herself in third person and then stood up to try and get into her baby sister's face. But Tamar stood right up equally as well. She wasn't going to let her physically have this stance over her. And I have to agree with that as well. Now, I want to go ahead and play the young lady's TikTok because that has nothing to do with WeTV. So I am going to go ahead and go to the neighborhood talk, and then we will watch the young lady's TikTok. I do want to go past the WeTV clips just so WeTV doesn't freak out. It's just okay. So now I will go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, so StreamYard is telling me to remove. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this TikTok for you. This is the niece Ashley talking about how one of her aunts stopped speaking to her. Here we go.
Okay, so I want to tell a story today, and that story is about how one of my aunts and my family do not talk to me because they think that I, at the age of 16, did something with her partner at the time. And I have been a nervous wreck to talk about something like this and to tell this story. A, because of my family. B, because I don't want people, it's not to hurt people to tell my story. But at the same time, I've been working through this so much in therapy, and this is something that goes way deep to my core in terms of worthiness and how I feel about myself. And it's been such a journey. Okay, so I want to tell a story today. And that story is about how one of my aunts in my family do. And it's that moment of my life where I have to fully confront it and face it and talk about it, but talk about it because I also want to shed light for the women and the men and anybody who has gone through something like this, where you were underage and something in that sort of manner happened in terms of that sort of word of abuse. And I feel like I have to be careful with what I'm saying here because I don't want to be banned from talking about these situations, but also we kind of have to talk about it. I'm also not very good at storytelling, and I'm new to all this, and I'm also trying to get ready at the same time and tell a story. And I feel like the story is quite complicated and detailed, so bear with me here. And it's that moment of my life where I have to fully confront it and face it. And yeah, so one of my aunts does not talk to me because I guess she felt like I did something with her partner at that time. And nothing happened, but I'm going to try to tell the story quickly and also not name any names. And so I was with this aunt for the summer with my sister, and I can't remember how much time had passed since we were there in the summer for a little bit of time to when we got home. And when I think it was my stepmother was going through my phone and she found this conversation, this sort of conversation. And she showed it to my dad, and my dad called that aunt and we spoke about it and we talked about it a little bit. And I remember just a lot of emotions, was a lot going on. I was 16 at the time and I'm 32 now. I had to think about it. I'm 32 now. And yeah, so one of my aunts does not talk to me because I guess she felt like I did something with her partner at that time. And nothing happened, but I'm going to try to tell the story quickly and also not name any names. And so I was with this aunt for the summer with my sister, and I can't remember how much time had passed since we were there in the summer for a little bit of time to when we got home. And when I think it was my step. So, oh my God, it's been 16 years. This is wild. Anyway, okay. So yeah, my aunt was there for me. She was very kind and very nice. And was like, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, blah, 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 blah. And not blah, 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 but she was very kind and it just felt safe, But then as the years have gone by, it's that mood and that assumption that I didn't do anything because I was a child was not that assumption anymore. And it boggled my mind because it was wait, but if it happened or if it was true, then that would make him, and you're okay with that? That's what you would like. So, oh my God, it's been 16 years. This is wild. Anyway, okay. So yeah, my aunt was there for me. She was very kind and very nice and was like, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, blah, 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 blah. And not blah, 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 but she was very kind and it just felt safe, But then as the years had gone by, it's like that mood and that assumption that I didn't do anything because I was a child was not that assumption anymore. And it boggled my mind because it was like, wait, but if it happened or if it was true, then that would make him, you know, and like, you're okay with that? Like, that's what you would like. So, oh my God, it's been to hear. And I will just never forget how when I got older, I just realized that I really had to take the time and go back to that part of my life and understand how much feeling of like I didn't matter, that I was unworthy. It just felt like love from my family was just cut off and gone. And you're like, but wait, that guy? And it made it even worse because it was like, wait, this guy that was doing this to you on TV? And like, it's kind of in cohorts in the same spirit of what was happening to hear. And
Okay, so that was the niece Ashley's TikToks. I know we hadn't seen those in several months to maybe even a year at this point. So I wanted to go ahead and play those again. Um, I think that it kind of sucks that she's kind of catching the brunt from, whichever aunt it is that's convinced that she did something. Now that she has come out and said it, we have to see how they play it on the TV show. The way Tawanda and Trina were just sitting there, quiet as a church mouse, I don't expect them to really dig deep. And, I'm guessing that Ashley was also sent a cease and desist because we haven't heard her say anything else. So let me know if you are watching the Braxtons on WeTV, and if you've seen, I don't know, has the show come out yet? Has like episode 1, or does it not start until next week, like October? I have to double check, but let me see if I can just Google really quick. When does the Braxton season 2 start? That is, according to Google's AI overview. Oh, it's not until Friday, October the 10th. So we still have 2 more weeks. So this was like a sneak peek that WeTV has released. So let me know in 2 weeks if you will be watching season 2 of the Braxtons. And which Braxton sister do you think it is? I think it's between Tawanda and Trina. And yeah, we shall have to see who it is. And thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. I hope that you all had a thriving Thursday. I did. I cannot complain. I just did my usual. I came home from work and I put on my gym uniform and I went for a walk at the park. The sun was out like faintly by the evening, but I walked around 4 times and for 50 minutes. And I am thinking about adding fish back to my diet. So then that would make me no longer vegetarian, but a pescatarian. So by me being back in the office temporarily, like whenever they get lunch for us, sometimes your coworkers, when they eat meat and you don't, they kind of like analyze what you're eating. I don't know why they're so worried about it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you eat, but they're always like, is that enough? Oh my gosh. And it's people who don't really care for salad. They don't eat salad. So they're like, you eat it all the time. But well, that's what, when they order stuff, that's within the realms of what they can do. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I think like I'm probably taking in like a lot of carbs that I could just replace with like salmon. So, but that's something that I'm thinking about. My oldest sister, she and her husband are pescatarians. But when I have tried to order salmon, like back in the spring, I tried to incorporate fish back into my diet. And to me, I just wasted money and wasted food. So I didn't, really pursue it. But I'm thinking about trying to pick that back up again. But I also just wanted to speak briefly on imperfections. I think that, of course, you should not put any pressure on yourself to be perfect. You should always be yourself, and you should surround yourself with people who give you the permission and the space to just be yourself. If they analyze everything, if they scrutinize everything, that's not your tribe. And don't feel obligated to be around anyone just due to blood relation, especially if they do not provide you the space to be yourself. I always feel like the biggest haters are the ones who hang on every single syllable, every single if they hear a or just any sort of imperfection. And I think that imperfections are beautiful because they represent who you truly are, and they are gentle reminders that we are all human. The imperfections prove that we are human and not superhuman, not superheroes, but we are just people, and everyone is just trying to make it through the day. And we are all going to have a fantastic Friday. And I will talk with you soon. Bye.